Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds, where it finished Forest 1, Newcastle 3. Why does this whole comments now disappear once we press live? Like, I can't see the other comments. So, hi to everyone in the chat. I can only see Craig as the first comment.
I'm all right, Jack. I can see him.
Yeah,
I can see Tommy K's got straight in with no Rob tonight. Woohoo!
I know. I was in the chat on Talking Reds earlier, chatting to Tommy. Shout out to Tommy. And I say, is there a score on tonight? I was like, yeah. I was like, no, Rob. He's like, I'll be there. I'll be there. Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Rob. And shout out to my man Matt in the chat. Can you guys see it? I can't bring his comment up. Can you see it, Ben?
I'll see him.
You got that stupid mic.
You mean Matthew? Yeah.
I'm a person.
Yeah. He goes, looking forward to hearing you boys live tonight. I have a late finish at work. Obviously, this is the main man, Matt, right? From Forest All Over. You guys need to show him a lot of sympathy in the chat.
I've already responded saying good to have you, Matthew. I've already responded.
Yeah, but you got to show him some love because he deals with Chris. And the only blessing about this loss this weekend is that freaking LaBeouf lookalike has to hold that he was wrong. And he's still trying to claim some kind of credit in it as well. Shout out to Matt. Make sure you're subscribed. Forest All Over. The link's there in the chat. Show him some love. They're on 485 subscribers. You guys can get him to 500. 15 of you go subscribe to him.
Nice.
And in the comments, make sure you big up Matt and you cuss down Chris. Right? Shout out to Matt.
Yes,
this is Perez. Perez. I'm not getting involved.
What is? Oh god. Why is that for me? Evening, gents. It doesn't say evening airs. It says evening, gents. We are still getting Europe, and I do agree.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to be honest. We spoke to her on video the other day at the ground, me and Ed.
Okay.
I did notice her eyes kept looking over towards me. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I didn't notice.
Ben, your mic is shanked, man.
Who?
Ben.
Ben, what?
Mute up,
Zach? Is it go and speak?
Hello? Testing.
Mute a sec. It's you. It's you.
Yeah, so much better.
Oh my god, it was popping away. Sort it out, man. You got too much gain on. Thank you so much, Jess, for that. Matt with the 9.99.
Oh.
It's not the end of the world. It is, Matt. It really is, man. Teams outperformed, and we'll have moments like yesterday. They looked off the pace and overwhelmed. Fully agree with that. Weight of sitting third. In Nuno, I trust. As do I. And expect the team to bounce back. Come on, you Reds. Thank you so much for the 9.99, Matt. And the lovely Mr. Sherlock Holmes with the 24 months. Happy 2-year anniversary, my man. You absolute legend. And the lovely Sean with the 8 months. Thank you so much for the 8 months. Thank you to everyone who's watching and supporting. Look, let's get the biggest positive done first, boys, because our boy, Lefty, the absolute legend, yesterday. Look at him. Look at him right there, guys. How good does he look? How proud does he look? How proud did he make us all feel? It's absolutely fantastic. I wish I could show it all on here, but they won't let us. But what? Give him some love in the chat. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, man. And he just so sharp, boys, doesn't he?
But the actual performance was absolutely impeccable, and the way it was witnessed as well in the stadium was brilliant. So yeah, real touching moment, and it's something that, we do every year. And yeah, Lefty's done us proud, mate. So thank you.
If the boys had performed like him, we'd still be third right
Hell yeah.
behind Man City.
Yeah,
we really would.
Yeah.
He got man of the match, didn't he, Lefty?
He got, I gave him man of the match. He's my man of the match. Owen, with the 2-year anniversary. Happy 2-year anniversary, buddy. Hope you're well. Okay, I guess we jump into it. Like, I don't know, man. I've reflected and I'm pissed off, but I've had all the Geordies, and I know they're in the chat. Shout out to the Geordies in the chat, all wanting a piece of my ass in the last 24 hours. I'm sick of talking about the game, so it's over to you, boys. Like, who wants to kick it off? You want happy or sad or what?
Yeah, no, I'll start off. It was the first game this season that I've sat next to my boy Ant, which was nice. But Weird
make that the
atmosphere,
last
I think. Yeah, no, it will be my last because I think I'm the jinx, actually. Somebody pointed out. But anyway, let's not talk about that. But I don't know. I mean, on reflection of the game, and this might sound cliched, and you know that's typical of me, but we quite simply we lost a midfield battle, and everything else that went with it, you know. If you go like for like, their three midfielders and our three midfielders, they were miles ahead in each department. You know, you pair up Gamiresh against MG Dub, he had more influence on the game. If you see Yates is like their long staff, not long shaft, by the way, that you keep calling him, long staff.
Okay, you know it's a joke, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I can never tell with you.
I know like, Willock isn't called Pillock, but still.
Willock's not a Pillock, yeah. And Willock is a fucking, sorry for the language, he's a fantastic player. When he's in form, when he's fit and available, he gives them a totally different dimension and gives them a added pace up front. I mean, if you look at their three forwards made an impact on the game. And even their subs came on and made an impact. So midfield battle was lost. Nuno's substitution timings didn't help, but there were too many players who had an off day yesterday, and unfortunately, they didn't. Their players were on top. Even in the first half, when they didn't, wasn't too many chances, but they had control of the game. We gave them either it was too much respect or the game plan was wrong because we were far too deep. And as me and Ant were watching it, it was like, you know, it was just a matter of time before they were going to score. It felt like, you know, watching the game. So we lost a lot of the battle in midfield, I think. And then obviously their forwards were really influential. Joe Linton was absolutely brilliant yesterday. Absolutely brilliant. You know, he's a kind of player that when he's on fire, he can make everybody else tick around him. But their front three was solid. You know, they scored the goals, they made the chances, and they were better than us on the day. And all I can put it down to is it feels like there was a little bit of tiredness within the players as well. And too many players had off days yesterday or didn't hit the benchmark that we're used to. But on a full reflection of where we are, coming to the third international break of the season so far, any one of us would have given this. So I'm not going to be too down on it. They were the better team. We got beaten by a better team yesterday. Simple as that.
That's so like humbly boring, mate. I'm not gonna lie. It's like,
isn't it?
Your standards are dropping. Surely our standards need to rise as we rise. Like, isn't
the problem was, and we've seen it twice now. I don't know. I mean, obviously we saw it against. I mean, our own form is shite. We've won one game at home all season, lost two. You know, City ground, eight quarters for through.
We've won two.
1-2. All right, 1-2 and lost 2. Still not good enough, is it? At this stage of the season,
we drew 2 as well.
Yesterday, there were shades of fucking Cooper. Yesterday, we were defending so deep. See, I would say this right. The problem is that you can play a block, a semi midfield mid block, if you like, so that when you win the ball back, you haven't got 80 yards to get to the other fucking end before you can have a shot on goal. So that is the issue. Yeah, that was for me. That was the issue yesterday. We were playing far too deep, far too negatively. I think we were frightened of them. Don't get me wrong. They're the best side I think that we've played, and I think they'll finish top 4.
Okay.
I think they've got a really, really good blend of players there.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, Liverpool is supposed to be good. We did a job on them, okay. You know what I mean? So it's not the fact that we can't beat these teams.
Right.
But you have to be you have to have the right strategy, and B, your players have to be on form. And I don't think either was the case yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because we were at home, man?
Playing, yeah. But we were still deep though. So playing two in midfield, basically against 4, as it turned out with them most of the time. We're not going to do anything. It's impossible. We've got to change the system to match up.
Well,
there were times when we had 2 in midfield and they had 4. And guess what? We were getting played around.
Yeah.
Well,
and the other thing, sorry, just the other thing, that it is a similar game plan that we've had against the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool to push them wide, but it didn't work because their wide players were really good. You know, they were rinsing us. They were getting on the ball and getting crosses in, and if not getting crosses in, creating chances on the edge of our box. So that game plan just didn't work by giving them space in wide areas, because they did well with their
space everywhere, Ed.
Yeah,
that's space on the wings and in the middle. You know what I mean? It was a shocking display by Forest. Look, we all suffer from PTSD. We had 23 years of shit in the Championship. We've had 2 years of shit in the Premier League. So as soon as we lose a game, we're going to panic mode, and that's understandable. I go into panic mode. Is this the end? Are we going to plummet down? My God, we're 5th, but we're only about 3 points off 10th. All those things come into my mind, and I'm hoping that it is just PTSD, and we can recover from this. We're playing Arsenal next. I wish we were playing them this Saturday rather than the fortnight, because that's going to give them a chance. They've pulled out their guys from the England squad, so it's going to give them a chance to recover somewhat. And I'm a little bit more fearful of Arsenal than I was a week ago. A week ago, I couldn't wait, but now I'm a little bit nervous. But let's see if it's a blip. If it's like the Fulham game away was a blip, wasn't it? That was a blip because we lost at home and then we went on a good run. So
we're still unbeaten away from home, so let's not forget that.
Yeah. So let's say we could go to Arsenal and do something, because they are, let's face it, they get atable, aren't they, Arsenal? So
let's go to Lemmy, and congratulations, Lemmy. Freshly married, freshly back, already aged about 20 years. Let's get those congratulations in the chat.
Just a few more hairs.
To young Lemmy, right? And just very quickly as well, let me just bring up the legend John's super sticker because I missed that. Thank you so much, Johnny Boy, for the 99p. Appreciate it, mate. But yeah, you're married and mature and level-headed and shit, right? Like, what are you saying about that game?
Well, I'm kind of used to it because I only seem to get invited on this program whenever Forest lose. I've still
you've got an agenda, mate.
Well, it's just funny. I come on here after we lose to Fulham. I then go married, and then 3 wins. First time Forest have won 3 games back to back in the Premier League. I then come back and we lose again. So maybe I'm a curse.
So you're the genius.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Take the mantle.
Should we banish Lemmy from FFTV and like all YouTube channels full stop? What do you think, chat? You put I'm gonna go for you now.
It was a disappointing performance. It did seem that we were a bit off the pace, but it seems like the first half they were kind of just cutting through us way too easily through the midfield. But then it was the entire second half. I was ecstatic to get in 1-0 up at half time. I felt they were all over us on the back end. Ever since we scored that goal, I felt we're lucky to be ahead. Maybe we'll get a plan in together to just try and hold them up. But Newcastle were probably the first team I think that we've seen so far this season that out counter-attacked Forest. The way that they just transitioned the ball. Anytime that we went on an attack and lost it, they were in our penalty box within 15-20 seconds. So I think that Nuno just got beat at our own game. That's how I kind of saw it. And yeah, I mean, conceding 3 goals at home is not good enough. I don't think there's a whole lot in a lot of the goals. It was just a shame that we kind of got beat by, like Ez said, we got beat by the better team on the day. We should have put in a better performance. And I think that was kind of reflected in what we were saying in the ratings yesterday. There's a lot of people still saying the performances were like 5, 6, 7s. I don't think anyone really performed better than a 5, and I give that to Murillo, maybe a 6 because he got the goal. So it was a subpar performance, but I don't think it's cause for concern after winning 3 games on the bounce to then get beat by a good team in Newcastle. Like I think we'd all agree we'd expect them to be a European side. Playing in the Champions League next season. And
Joe, was it a tactical error for you, or was it a player
I don't think
error?
So. No, I don't think it was a tactical error.
Because you said we got overrun in the midfield, so by the fact that you could say, did we need a third body in there?
Quite possibly, but then I don't think any of us would have looked at that starting lineup and the form that we were into. And said, I feel like we're going to get overrun in the midfield. I don't think anyone would have kind of stuck their neck out and made that call before the ball was kicked at kickoff. We were all said, he's picked a winning team. We've won 3 games on the bounce. Dominguez has been all over the pitch. Yates has been a terrier. He's not the most gifted player that we've got, but he is going to annoy a lot of players. And again, he did that yesterday, but he just wasn't effective yesterday. He just wasn't. Like the Newcastle midfield wasn't really going to have it. I felt like Atwell kind of probably gave him a bit more than he should have been let off with.
It was Taylor, wasn't it? Anthony Taylor.
Anthony Taylor, yeah.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
But,
got sort of living rent free in your mind, mate. Well, we could talk about the ref stuff later on, but
I just felt like it wasn't a great performance, but I'm more than happy to say we got beaten by the better team. We probably flattered them a lot more than it is probably a mixture of we flattered them a lot, so they looked like a great team, and they did play in that game, but they are also a top 4 challenging team. So we put up with them. We took the lead. We held on at half time. We were in the game up until that 3rd goal went in. After that, I kind of thought, right, we're now just going to try and chase to earn a bit of dignity back, and we didn't get it. But we move on after the international break, and like we keep on saying, we've played so many games now. Like we said, we've got to judge our season off of how we're going to do against Crystal Palace, against Leicester, and against West Ham. We then win all of those games, and now all of our expectations have just shot up to the moon. So now we have to temper it a little bit, but now we go into a really tough run of games, and this is probably going to be more season defining given where we are in the league now. If we're able to grind out results against Arsenal away, and then when we go to Manchester twice in a week, if we're able to grind out results and get points from that and stay in the top 10, then that we are justifying our place up there, and we can then try and push further up. I'm still not worried about looking further down. I'm not concerned about what's happening in the bottom half of the table.
For now. All right, Crypto. Like, there's been a lot of talk, and I've been getting in the neck from not just the Geordies, but the rest of the YouTubers. They're saying that Forest have not played any significant teams, and the only reason we are where we are is because we've had an easy run, in quotes. Is there any truth in that, in your opinion? No, seriously, Anne, seriously.
I mean,
Liverpool, Chelsea, Brighton. These are all easy.
Ben, answer it, man.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious answer is Liverpool. I mean, I think Liverpool are going to go ahead and win the title, and we absolutely schooled them. So, look, yesterday we've got to give credit to Newcastle, because I thought Newcastle played really well, especially in the second half. And Joel Linton was brilliant, and Isak was pretty good as well. It was strange, actually, because usually Forest do better in the second half. So for us to come out and play worse in the second half, I thought was a bit strange. I think it's time to send Nuno back to the stands. I did say last score, I hope he runs on the pitch and punches someone, and he didn't. And unfortunately, we've therefore lost the match. But as Lemmy hinted at, the problem is once you go a goal down, we then start to get countered ourselves, and you could see that a lot in the second half yesterday. Obviously, we had to go on the full attack to try and win the game, get the goal back. But then we were then being kind of countered. Our counter attack was being countered. So that just didn't work, and it all fell apart. But you got to give a shout out to Murillo. That goal was brilliant. I think at the end of the day, we're 5th in the league. We're better than what we thought we were. Maybe not Wolfie, but we're better than where most people thought we were. I think we should be happy. Like, we're not going to win every game at the end of the day. Newcastle played really well. We weren't on our game, but at the end of the day, going into this international break, we're 5th in the league, and I don't think we can ask much more than that. And we're only a few points behind, 3rd and 4th. So it was disappointing.
We're level with them, mate. What are you talking about?
Level on goal difference,
but point being, though, we're only 3 points above 11th. So
I mean, it does swing both ways. But look, it was disappointing, and it was kind of out of character the way we played yesterday, and no one had a really good game. I thought Murillo was quite good, but apart from that, no one really had a great game. But I don't know. For me, like, we're obviously going to lose games throughout the season. If we go ahead into the next few games and get some more points, then it brings it back up. But I'm not too disappointed at the moment. I just thought Newcastle played really well in that second half, and they deserved to win, to be honest. They deserved to win.
Yeah.
They did, but we made it easy for them, though, didn't we?
We did make it easy for them. Yeah, I'm not defending them in the sense.
It's like when we played West Ham, Ben. When we played West Ham, you could say Forest were brilliant, but we were allowed to be brilliant by our absolutely abject West Ham were.
Yeah.
You've got to be
True.
honest. You've got to be realistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
No,
we made them abject.
yesterday wasn't good enough, and there were certain players in there who went back to playing how they used to. I won't mention any names, but it's pretty obvious
Oh, we're going to mention names.
the
mate.
ones
We
who
are.
played pretty badly. You know, they went back to like they were playing it last season, and I don't know why. But look, you're always going to have hiccups in the road. You can't win every game. So
Of course you are.
I would
This
like,
is
to,
the-
I would like, I'd like
Go
to, I'd like to mention out for Dominguez because that poor guy,
Mm.
he was covering that midfield and attack on his own. He was
Yeah.
all over the place. You know, at one point, he I think he had a shot. And
yeah.
the next thing, he ran the whole length of the pitch, and he was the guy that
He was
got the
back in
tackling
position.
from the
Yeah.
clearance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was just ran his socks off. So he deserves some credit because, you know, it wasn't his fault. Yeah.
is my mic sounding okay now?
It's actually better.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Whatever you
let's not
did,
forget.
don't touch it. It's fine.
Let's not forget, this is a league where the bottom team can beat the top teams. You know, and it's not as if we lost to a bottom team. We lost to a team who are going to be in and
Talking
around.
about
the-
Spurs now, aren't you, Ez?
Well, I didn't have to mention names, do I? But
Oh,
that is the fact of this league. That is the fact of this league. That will happen. So to lose to Newcastle as if that's the end of the world. Come on, guys.
No,
But we're trying to gauge your opinions and obviously your feelings at the moment going into this international break. I think that's what makes it worse. If we had another game this weekend, I don't think we'd all be feeling as down or depressed about this right now. But sorry, let me interrupt. Go on.
yeah, no, it was. Sorry, there was a comment that came up from Tom O'Connell just about in what game week did we get 19 points last season. So I then muted my mic and started doing a bit of a search. Does anyone want to take a punt?
What was the question? 19.
In what game week did we get to 19 points?
I think it would have
I
been
reckon
when
it's-
we beat Newcastle.
21st. Take a guess.
I'll say 26th.
Maybe higher.
Wait, don't give the answer yet. Let the chat put their answers in.
Yeah.
Let them put their answers in. Tom,
Yeah, it is a brilliant point because it's what we're on 19 now. What's the
Game
Game week 11.
They'd be
Game week
off
11.
of like 30 odd last season.
Mm.
So
but we know we're better than we were last season, don't we? We know that.
yeah,
If I want to
but
know the answer,
it feels
I wanna know
like I know that we kind of, or probably got quite possibly carried away when we won 3 in a row. I know I did.
We all did. But yeah.
I was giving it a
Nothing wrong
complete
with that.
dig in my group chat that I've got with a load of friends from university who support teams like Crystal Palace and Man United. And I remember sending them a message after we beat Liverpool saying mind the gap because it was the first time we were above them. And then since then, we've just extended that lead. So we're all absolutely ecstatic. And I just feel like we've now lost a game. Has it burst our balloon a little bit? Yes. But it's no reason to feel like anything that we did in the past couple of seasons. And I feel now is probably a good time. There's a few close answers. I think Ez was the closest as part.
Wait, don't give the answer. Don't give the answer yet. Give them a second, right? And I'll do the super chats quickly while the chat get their answers in. So, what game week did we get to? What was it? 19 points.
19 points.
Yeah.
19 points. Get your answers
Well, that
in.
would be game week 25 then, wouldn't it?
Says Google. Says Wikipedia.
Well,
No,
no, 'cause
it
that's
says that I'm
anyway.
close to Ed, and Lemmy said Ed was close, so I'm
Yeah.
close to Ed. That's all.
Well, it could be 23 then.
I'm going to go 24.
Martin with the 199 says, if only them subs got on before they scored FFS. Man, that wound me up so much, man. It took about 6 minutes to get him on. And then Nuno did the rule, didn't he? You can't make a sub at corners. He should have broken that rule with hindsight. But man, that wound me up so much, man, because Morgan's White was spent. We're about to talk about him.
Yeah,
But
we'll
thank
talk
you, man.
about
Let me
it.
just do the super chats quickly. Chris with the £2 says 5th in the Premier League, lost 2 all season, beat up for 2 weeks. He says that's the positive attitude, Chris. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not quite with it. Jordan's a broke with me, man. I'm just fending him off from all angles. And thank you so much, Chris, for the £2. And Curtis with the $5 says maybe Nuno will change the team sheet now since we aren't on a streak anymore. That is a cracking point, and we are gonna cover that off, mate. But the next thing I want to do is talk about some individual players. Thank you again, Curtis, for the $5. Just before we do, just a quick reminder, you got 1 day left on football prizes. And it's my favorite player. It's Awoniyi with a signed, framed Forest shirt. And you can install win Sells and Callum Hudson-Odoi. Ticket 260 and 140 gets you those. You've only got till 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'll put the link in the chat for you. Grab your tickets. There's still a few left. And
But more importantly than that,
Yeah.
we have another thing to promote, don't we?
oh yeah, crap. Go on, you don't do that.
Go on. Let me do it. Because
Go on,
so
go on,
guys,
if you're desperate to, you do it, mate.
yeah, well, yeah.
I don't know. Is this a good salesman? I don't know.
Well,
We'll find out.
I'm a good
Yeah,
sales.
Any more to do it, to be honest. So.
Those perfumes on that back shelf haven't moved in about 2 years. So.
That's a good point.
Because they
a
have
good
a
point.
quality. I ain't selling those, bro. Right. Anyway, so guys, it is for Wolfie's birthday. His whatever birthday he wants to call it, but it is for
23rd.
Wolfie's birthday. So just please do turn up. But it is 20th of November, 7 p.m. it starts. But we need you guys to make sure, obviously, you've got your tickets in advance. So the way it is, we put 100 tickets up on the website for you guys to go for. 50 of you are guaranteed a seat because it's quite a tight area of casino that we've been given. But bear in mind, get your tickets. Make sure you turn up early because you will get a seat. But also, please, please, please bring your photo ID with you. Just bring it anyway. Yeah, and no copies on your phone. They'll need the original. So if you've got a copy of it on your phone, they won't accept it. So please bring your original photo IDs.
If you look under 25,
Like me.
just in general, just bring it in general. Just bring it in general. Just to be
you're going to
clear.
be putting people off, mate.
No, it's not. I'm not. putting
Why are you
people
I
off.
know,
people
man.
off.
You're like,
And-
you
and-
can't
just
sit, you can't
let-
stand. You're going to be ID'd, then
No,
you're going to be
let me
frisked.
right.
I
No,
can
let me
guarantee,
finish
listen,
off.
people,
Let me
forget what
finish.
Ed is saying, right? If you're over 25,
agree.
you don't need your ID.
No, you
Also,
don't.
you are guaranteed.
but-
Hang on, you are guaranteed a seat. Don't worry about that. You are guaranteed a seat. Even
right.
if you're sitting on my lap, I guarantee you a seat.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
people.
Okay.
Right.
And,
I'd like to go
and,
on further.
and-
Let's be quiet. You've ruined it. I'd like to go on
No,
further.
and
and say,
I'm
You
speaking
did a
on behalf
little
of
less.
and I'm speaking on behalf of them, not what we want, what they're asking
no,
me
you're
to
wrong,
do.
though, Ez. I've spoken to him. You're
No,
wrong.
you're
I'll
You're
Okay,
making it
leave
sound like an examination hall, man.
Are we arguing about this on air? Are we genuinely doing that?
Yeah, because you're talking. You're talking people out of
No,
coming
I'm
for no
passing
reason.
on. Yeah, but I've had these
Jeez.
conversations with them. Right, okay, you know what? Just turn up if you can be bothered.
Yeah, right. I know I'll take over now. Right. Ignore what Ezra says. You will get it. You do not need a photo ID like any other pub in town unless
It's
you
not
look
a
under
pub.
25.
It's not
It's
a pub.
same. I thought
It's
you'd
not
gone.
a pub.
I thought
No,
you'd
it's
gone.
not a pub, no. But you
Hang
see,
on,
you're
hang
saying
on,
it's like
hang
a
on.
pub. It's not a
Right.
Oh,
Right. It's like any pub in town where you
muted him back. All right. You know what? This is good. And you're on
He doesn't,
mute.
he doesn't realize he's
doesn't-
getting
he's on
muted.
mute. He's muted you back. He muted you back.
right. So it's like any other pub in town. You only have to produce photo ID if you're lucky enough to look under 25. That is the rule. If you look 60, I promise you, you will not need to produce photo ID to prove your age. I promise you. Right? That's the first point. Second point, you will get a seat. It's a casino. They've got lots of seats. You won't get a front row seat. You won't get one of the booths, but you'll get a seat. Right? Right.
And can I just add, he will not need ID. Freaking catfish.
Yeah, I will not need ID.
Right?
I've been there before, and
He doesn't
they didn't
need ID.
me.
Yeah, but
He thinks he
and
does. He
you
doesn't.
you just contradicted everything as said.
I know I have. There's
Anyway.
a reason for that, Ben. Now, the third point I'd like to make is, and I implore you on this as a favor to us, if you've got a ticket, please come, because last time when we did our barbecue, 38 people didn't turn up.
47.
How many?
47.
47 people didn't turn up, and they paid, right? But they didn't turn up, and that looks bad on us because the people that host these things, they obviously want to sell alcohol and food, so they want as many people. That's why they invite you in there. So if you have got a ticket, please try to turn up. Okay.
This is the
And
worst
just
birthday ever, man. Like, you lot are just like depressing me.
Just
Like,
in case Simon's watching as well, Si, whatever you do, don't sell your ticket on Facebook if you can't come.
all right, let me make this simple, right? Before these bloody nitwits just messed it all up. Right. If you're free on Wednesday, the 20th of November, come down to Grosvenor Casino. We'll be in the function hall on the right-hand side. We're paying for your entry. It's completely free. The link is pinned in the chat. Go grab your tickets. We'll see you at 7 p.m. End of. Can we talk
No,
back
it's
to
not
talking
end
about
of.
Forest?
No,
It's
Game week
end of.
25.
there's 1 point. Let me just make 1 point very clear.
Oh my God, man.
Let me just make 1 point very clear. It's not a pub. It's a casino. It's a members club.
It doesn't
So we
matter,
have
Ed.
got
Will you
rules.
shut off?
No,
I'm getting
I
really
won't.
angry with you now, Ez. I'm getting really angry with you now.
All right,
And
enough.
I've
Right.
Enough.
And
All
I've been
right.
I'm
speaking
really
to-
angry with you.
and
All right, let's move on, right, and talk Forest. Although it's just cool.
People are going to turn up with them collapsible chairs.
You know, if you turn up, make sure you come with some shield or something, right? Imagine these two in person. I mean,
Bring your ID just to annoy Ant.
Yeah. It was
Oh
game
my
week
God.
25. It was the middle of
it's game week
February.
25. We
Really?
finally
Yeah.
got an answer.
We'd just beaten
All right,
West Ham 2-0 when we should have won about 10-0. But it was
All
the
right,
middle
can
of
we talk back about football?
Yes.
Have they both rage quit?
So am I, man. In it. Seriously. Time out. Anyway, let's talk about football. Right. A lot of the talk, boys, was about the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White, Ryan Yates, Callum Hudson-Odoi. Didn't have a great game. Mark, you definitely need ideas.
Whoa, what happened there?
Who's kicking
What was
me? Who's
Did
kicking
Ant
me?
boot you? I think Ant booted
No,
you.
he's not even by his computer.
He was. I saw him lean in. He leaned in.
Oh, did he really? Anyway, Morgan Gibbs-White. Talk to me on Morgan Gibbs-White. A lot of the chat yesterday in the watch along were not happy with his performance. Are we giving him the fitness excuse, or is there the excuse that he's not quite there?
I think you made a good point on the video you released. Maybe a small part of him is thinking, I don't want to get injured again. I want to play for England. I know some people would disagree, but last time he was meant to play for England, he got injured. And he looked to me like yesterday, he just wasn't committing that 110% that Ant likes. It just looks like he was kind of backing out tackles. He wasn't doing his skills that Ant's trying to say something, but he's muted.
All right, bring him back on. What does he want?
It wasn't.
I just said I can hear you, you know. Oh, stop it. I'm having a fag. Go away.
It wasn't a great performance by him. I mean, personally, I wanted to see more of Anderson yesterday because I think he would have been quite good against his old club in the same way that previously Chris Wood had a brilliant performance against him. I think Anderson would have gone out there and had something to prove, but you know, it's hard, isn't it? Morgan Gibbs-White has come back from injury, so he hasn't got that consistency over the last few games. He played pretty well last game, but yesterday it was not the Morgan Gibbs-White that we saw at the end of last season.
Was Anderson much better when he came on? Honestly, I don't think many played well apart from Dominguez.
I thought Anderson was better, but he was annoying me a bit when he was trying to skill out too many people. I mean, he's really skillful and he can get around 3 or 4 people, but he almost seemed to get around 2 people and then lose it. And one of them, they nearly scored off the back of it when he lost the ball in our half. So I don't know. Yeah, nobody played great yesterday. I don't want to call Morgan Gibbs-White out as a single player, but it's not the standards that we've held him to. It's not the standards that we like to hold Morgan Gibbs-White to. So yeah, someone said it in the chat. I think Laurie said it. He was lacking. He wasn't. You know, it wasn't the worst game ever, but everyone just seemed like they weren't given that extra 10%.
Is he ready to come back on? I don't know. He can put himself back on. I can't bother to do it. He can do it himself. Do you agree with that, Joe? Like,
yeah, no, I do agree. I don't think there's any kind of excuse there about his match fitness because he played best part of 60-65 minutes against West Ham and he didn't look out of place there. So I don't think that stands. I just think he looked a bit lost. He was pretty much, I wouldn't say man-marked, but he had no space available to him, especially throughout the entire first half. Their midfield made sure that he was always covered. So he wasn't able to kind of get on the ball and have any time to produce anything that we've seen him get up to. And I feel like that probably frustrated him. He's used to being able to get on the ball, have some space, have some time to think about what he's going to do, produce some flick or trick, and then try and find a pass, which we can often get annoyed with. We didn't have time for that. He was often having to come back and cover in defence a lot. So it was an off game. Was he trying to make sure he was going to be fit for being able to play for England? Maybe, but
that's interesting. Do you think, one, would he, and two, is that acceptable?
I wouldn't. I'd like to think, yes, it's good that he's getting picked for England and he knows he's getting picked for England, but I wouldn't like to think that he's almost expecting to get minutes. Like he managed to get 15 minutes or so against Ireland, and then nothing in the game, doing all right, and then obviously he was injured after that. But now we've got Foden and Bellingham back in, so I would like to think that he's not prioritizing the chance to get minutes. If it was that, then that's a big issue. But I don't think that is the case. I'd like to hope that's definitely not the case. He's making sure that he's fit for England. I just think it was an off game, but you could say that about 8 or 9 other outfield players.
Agreed.
So it's not like you can pin it on one player. When you realise that the entire team's a bit down, that's when you need someone to step up and lift it. And no one was doing that. So you can pin it on Morgan Gibbs-White. He didn't have a great game, but I don't think it's fair to say that it's on him to then lift everybody else up.
And are we all good now?
Yeah, I'm just reading it. Yeah. I've just messaged it.
Freaking hell, you lot. Seriously. All right, let me just catch up on a couple of the super chats. Johnny Boy with the 199. Thank you so much, John. John, if you want to cancel your ticket, I don't blame you. In these
John, don't get your ID.
Yeah, John, you definitely need ID. Oh yeah, Brucey will be there, by the way. Like they talked about ID and stuff. Forgot to mention the main man Brucey will be there. So 7 p.m. Links pinned. Glenn, thank you so much for the 26 months as well, buddy. Really do appreciate it. Well over 2 years now. You absolute legend. All right, and I can't be asked for you to talk about Morgan Gibbs-White unless you really want to, because I got a couple of other players I want to discuss.
You know my feelings. So
okay, cool. All right, let's talk about Ryan Yates. I've seen it in the chat, seen it in the watch along, heard the Geordies crying about what he was doing yesterday. We hear this week in, week out with a lot of the other teams, YouTubers, mates, etc. that we talk with. What was your take on his performance yesterday and the old shithousery stuff?
Yeah, well, he went back to old style, but you know what? I've literally just thought of some mitigating circumstances. As I mentioned earlier on, a lot of the time we were 2 in midfield against 4 against them. So Dominguez, as I mentioned earlier, was fantastic. Ran so much, and he lasted as well, which is a great thing to see. And I think Ryan Yates was just like a headless chicken. He couldn't cope. Simple as that. Now, you can criticize him for not being able to cope, but you also need to understand that he was up against some absolute top quality midfielders and he was outnumbered. So you've got to give him a little bit of leeway on that, I think, because he has been he's been decent though, hasn't he, in the main this season? He's been I think we've all put him in our teams, so he's been decent. Unfortunately, I think yesterday was just too much for him. And he doesn't know what to do. All he can revert to then is running into people and kicking, and that's not good. And I understand why the Newcastle fans wanted him sent off. I understand why a lot of Forest fans wanted him sent off. But, that's the way it is. That's what you get with Ryan Yates, I'm afraid. Do
you think it was a red card? The elbow or the rake on the thigh?
I'll be absolutely 100% honest with you. I was in the stands. I was in Trent End. I didn't really see in detail. I've not watched it since. So, unfortunately, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm going to say I'm not qualified to comment on that.
Sitting on the fence. Chat, I'll ask you, do you lot think, red goggles off, Yates should have gone for one of those 2, or even 2 yellows, as Matt says in the chat? What do you 2 think? Should he or could he have been sent off?
Elbow, for me, no. Elbow that's not intentional. He's not looking to elbow him in the face. He's just kind of wafting an arm across. The thigh high stood in. Yeah, I do think if I'm taking my Forest hat off and I saw someone do that against, let's say, a Morgan Gibbs White, I would be upset that that's not been looked at. So I do think he did get away with that one. Is it immediate red? No. Should it have been looked at? In my opinion, quite possibly, yeah.
But was it Chelsea or Man U or something where they had a similar challenge? And it wasn't even looked at. So do you know what I'm talking? Was it Bruno Fernandes on Cole?
No,
Palmer?
That's the one where he went knee high, didn't he? On one.
Yeah,
and
it was similar to
knee,
what Yates did, and they didn't look at that one. So
I think
welcome to the football Premier League.
I think the main
soft though, we are soft though, I was saying to Ez on yesterday that people are okay. People don't like it when people that can remember the old days bring it up because football was only invented in 1992, wasn't it? But Newcastle, I must say, great admiration for them, great side. They do chuck themselves down on that floor. Honestly, they really do. Some of it was pathetic, and that leads to people thinking that every challenge now is a yellow card. That's how it's got now. Anybody fouls anybody, they're expecting a yellow card. We're too soft nowadays. We give out too many yellow cards for challenges, I think.
I think Matt in the chat made a good point. I don't think he deserved a straight red at any point, but I'm surprised he didn't get 2 yellows. There was that one in the second half where he pulled someone back, and I thought maybe then he'd get a second yellow and be sent off, but he was lucky not to go off. But I mean, his performance yesterday was what we've said before, and we get heavily criticized for it, but yesterday was a classic Ryan Yates performance. That is not the type of CDM we need on the pitch. He wasn't bullying the other players because he was just trying to foul them. He wasn't cutting out passes. He wasn't tracking people. And I know he's had a good season, and I'm happy for him. And he's definitely progressed, and he's definitely got better this season. But yesterday was a classic game of why we criticized him in the past. And hopefully in the next game, I'm sure he'll start again. I hope that he goes back to playing how he did the last few matches. But yesterday was just classic Ryan Yates again. And it wasn't acceptable. And I don't want to call him out, individually, because there was other players on the pitch who had a bad game as well.
We're going through him, don't worry. He's not on his own.
But yeah, no, he's not on his own 100%. But yesterday, it was almost like he'd lost his confidence. He didn't really know what to do. And the composure, and as Ant mentioned, having an extra player for those guys in the midfield, it swamped our midfield. And this goes back to what happened last season. The reason we conceded so many goals last season is because our midfield couldn't protect our defence. And that is exactly what happened yesterday. Our midfield got overrun. Ryan Yates is not the type of player who can single-handedly guard a central defensive midfield position when we're getting overrun like that. So look, I'm not having a go at him because I think he's improved this season, and I don't want to single him out. But yesterday was not great. There was only one player yesterday who played well for me, and that was Murillo.
Oh,
it's not the agenda. We have to call people out when they're playing bad.
Oh, do you think Yates played well yesterday, Owen? Did you not hear Ben just say he's been playing well?
Honestly, I agree.
What you want to hear,
then you've lost me. Yes, I'm not saying he was the problem yesterday. Look, I don't blame Ryan Yates for yesterday. I think Ryan Yates has been doing well this season and he's been getting better. We're just talking about him and giving an example of how yesterday he wasn't one of the best players on the pitch. Arguably, he was one of the worst players on the pitch yesterday.
I think for me, it's kind of going back to what I said about MGW, where because the entire team wasn't playing around him.
Yeah,
like we remember Yates of last season and the season before, where we had 2 in the midfield and we just couldn't control the midfield. So Yates was doing what he did for the past 2 seasons, which is always running about. I will never give him criticism for running about and giving effort, but yeah, he was just lashing out into going into tackles and trying to be a bit of a shithouse when everyone else is playing around him, and he doesn't have to be so involved with the players on the ball, and he's able to just kind of come in every now and again, because the entire defence and the midfield around him is working so cohesively, it kind of falls under the radar, some of the bad stuff that he's going to do. Whereas yesterday, if you get an overrun in the midfield, I don't expect anything else, unfortunately, from Yates. I just think that is what he's going to do to try and help and try and break up the play and try and get involved. So it's unfortunate. It
Yeah, what
didn't
you're
work
saying
well.
about the overrunning, but like I think between him and Jota Silva, well, partly they cost the third goal. Jota Silva with a terrible ball, and then Ryan Yates. Whereas I think maybe a week ago he would have tackled. I think who was it? Was it Bruno that got it? Instead, he went for a shove. They just danced around him, and they went down the other end and scored it. It was just weird performance in general. Like all the players were just not at it for me.
The third goal, I mean, at that point, you're 2-1 down with like 10, 15 minutes to go. You've brought on all your subs. You're just chasing the game. And that's why one of the reasons we've been doing so well this season is we've been able to go ahead and hold on to it and not look under threat when we're ahead. Whereas the 2 times that we've lost is the only 2 times this entire season where we've been behind in a game. We're chasing a game and we're trying to get a result out of it. And if that then means that we're actually going for it rather than doing what we've seen in seasons of old where we've gone 2 goals down in 20 minutes and basically given up, we then lose 3, 4, 5. We're chasing the game and we concede a goal again on the counter.
Just to say on Owen's point again, because James has just reminded me, and I'm sure we'll talk about them, but there were other players who this season have done really well.
Move on to Callum Hudson-Odoi because he needs talking about. He was
there's three of our top players. They didn't have a great game yesterday. We're not just singling out.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not trying to pin that we're guys just singling out because
I don't care if Owen thinks he's singling out or not. He's just being Owen. But let's talk about Hudson-Odoi because I think he was the worst player on the pitch yesterday. And from the stands, maybe it wasn't like as bad, or was it?
He's just ineffective, and he wasn't tracking back, which he normally does quite well. He wasn't tracking back, and he was just ineffective. I don't know what his problem was yesterday, but like we said, it just seems like one of those days when virtually the entire team were just off it. Whether that's due to Newcastle, whether they were just off it, who knows? Let's hope it was just because they had a day off. Because we need them back next week, week after next for certain. They can't play like that again. And hopefully they won't.
The plan B for me wasn't there. Like I said on the video today.
Do we have a plan B?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do we have a plan B is the question I'm asking. Because we've got plan A and a finishing plan A, as I call it.
Exactly. That's what I would say.
We've lost both games when we've been behind. So is this something that Nuno needs calling out on?
No, I would say you're spot on there because I would say that it's not a coincidence that the games we've lost is when we've gone behind, because we're not an attacking kind of team, are we? Let's be honest. We're a counter-attacking team. That's what we are, which is no bad thing, and it's worked well for us. But it doesn't work well for you when you're behind. It doesn't work anymore because you have to be on the front foot, and you saw how easy it was for them to get to break on us. So that's an issue that is going to be needed to be sorted out. But again, maybe if that had been Crystal Palace and we'd have gone a goal behind, or West Ham and we'd gone a goal behind, we would have been able to cope. But we were against Newcastle, who, as we've all said, are an excellent team. And they're right at the top.
Are we overhyping them, man? They've been up and down with their form all season.
Absolutely, they've been up and down. They've been very disappointing early on. But I think the last 3 games have shown that they're starting to build something. And we all know what momentum's like in football. And they've got it. I mean, I think looking at the players they've got, the squad they've got, in fact, it's very, very good. They should be challenging up there at the top. I think earlier on, it was simply a slow start that they had. Like Man City often have a slow start. Other teams have a slow start and then they gain momentum. I think that Newcastle are doing that. I was really impressed with them.
They were good. They were. Can I just make a point on that plan B thing? Because I don't think we do have a plan B when we're down. And the reason being is because yes, we all know how good Chris Wood is, right? We're all in agreement that Chris Wood is a brilliant striker of the ball, a clinical finisher. He did brilliant against Newcastle last time. Yesterday, he got zero service. He got zero service. Not blaming Chris Wood, but yesterday he got zero service. We don't have a plan B attacker. We don't have another striker who can come on the pitch and challenge Chris Wood for his position in a different way.
Awoniyi.
Yeah, but Tyro's not in form, is he? It's a risk. It's, you know, we don't we don't have that person who can challenge for that position and offer something different. We know that Chris Wood is good when Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi are on their game, whipping in crosses, and he's there to finish it off. We don't have a striker who can run through the middle with speed and power. Yes, in theory, that should be Awoniyi, but obviously at the moment it's not. And I just think that's where our plan B lacks. If you see Chris Wood is on the pitch getting no service, what are your options realistically? Do you put an out of form Awoniyi on? Do you put Jota Silva in a false nine? We don't have that. If we want to be a Premier League team, a top 10 Premier League team, we need someone to challenge for that position and offer something different to what Chris Wood does.
Do you agree with that, Lemmy? Because I think he makes a good point. Because Taiwo, I think he came on the 88th minute anyway. Well, I mean, what impact was he going to have for 2 minutes plus 6 or 7, whatever it was, of stoppage time? But is his profile that dissimilar to Chris Wood in terms of what he can offer?
It is. I do agree that we don't have someone who is in form that can challenge, but I think it's a bit harsh to just say that Taiwo can't challenge because he's out of form. I mean, he's not getting any minutes. How do you expect him to get any form at all if he's not?
Just to clarify that bit, Lemmy, just quickly. I mean, for me, Taiwo, you don't put Taiwo on yesterday at, say, 60 minutes against a Newcastle side like that, for me, because we haven't seen him performing well recently. Because we know Chris Wood is the goal scorer. The thing is, it's hard for Nuno because look what Chris Wood did to Newcastle before. He scored a hat-trick against them. So it's a hard decision for Nuno, but we don't have that person to challenge him.
But I think that's because we've not needed a person to challenge him, especially this season. And the form that Chris Wood's been in, he's been able to play the full 90 minutes pretty much and being able to be the fox in the box, especially, like, I do agree with you. He is very reliant on the players that are around him, and that wasn't there yesterday. But I don't think we're quite at a point where we can throw Taiwo straight down under the bus and say you're not going to be able to offer us anything different, because we have seen him offer something different. It might not be against the caliber, like you say, against Newcastle. I don't think he's going to be good enough to, especially without being playing, to be able to take the ball on the halfway line and run it through. But we have seen him do something similar. He did it in the last game of the first season against Crystal Palace, where he just took the ball, ran it on, did a couple of 360s and then put it in the back of the net. We've seen him take the ball at the halfway line, run on the defence, and then play through Danilo, who's overlapping with him. That's not in Chris Wood's game. Chris Wood isn't someone that I want to see pick up the ball on the halfway line, turn and run. I want to see him just stand there in the box and finish from the edges, which is what all he's been doing this season, and that's all he's had to do. But I don't want to put it past and think that we have to panic and try and get someone in January as a second or third option, because I do think Taiwo can offer something different. He just needs to get minutes, and unfortunately, because we got knocked out of the League Cup, I can't see a clear-cut way that we're going to be able to just interject him into it and say, have a go.
The thing is, though, Larry, when you say get minutes, every game counts. Every single point. If we want to be a top 10 team, I mean, look how many points there are between where we are now and I think Ant said 11th place. There's like 3 points. So if you put Tyro out there just to get minutes in the hope that he'll perform well, it's I don't know. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because
that's the exact argument I'm making. I don't want it to kind of get misconstrued that I'm saying I want to throw Tyro out there for 60 minutes just so he can get minutes. I do agree. I wouldn't be putting him out, for example, to start against Arsenal or bringing him on at half time against Arsenal. It is difficult now that we're going to be able to bring him in and try and get him back up to speed.
So what would you do, Joe? Would you say, like, when we were 3-0 up against West Ham, I honestly can't remember if he did or didn't, but would that be the time to give him like 20 minutes there while the game's won, basically? Would that be your kind of approach of him?
Absolutely, yeah. I think as soon as the game's written off and we've not conceded more than, until yesterday, conceded more than 2 goals in a game, if the game is hung up to dry, yeah, bring him on. I want to see him get on. I want to see him get minutes, because the only time that he started this season was when he played up front against Chris Wood, and he played 2 striker formation, and that's just not going to work, because we're never going to do that again.
That was like one of our worst matches.
Yeah. Agree.
What would you do, Ant, with the striker situation? Obviously, Wood is phenomenal, but against Burn yesterday and Shah, they had his number. Let's be honest, pretty much the whole game. Like,
yeah,
we need another.
Don't forget, a week ago we were saying that, you know, he's the best striker in the world.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about different styles.
He had no service yesterday worthwhile, none. And also, he was up against 2 big centre backs who probably suited playing against him, if you know what I mean. You know, against centre backs like that, you'd probably be better with a smaller or quicker forward. You know, because they're big lumbering oafs. You know what I mean? So he was the ideal player for them to play against. He's not particularly mobile, Chris Wood. He's not particularly mobile. He's not that brilliant at winning headers in duels, if I'm honest. You know, you look how many
8 out of 9 yesterday. Yeah, I think.
Well, there you go. So it's
Dan
not
Burn
that
1 8 out of 9, something like that.
It's not that sort of target man that everybody paints him to be. He really isn't. We all know he doesn't really jump for you know for duels. So yesterday he was on a hard into nothing. He had no chance, no service, up against 2 big defenders who could handle him quite simply. So in my opinion, a smaller, faster striker would have been better. Now we haven't got one. Maybe we could do with one. But before I say anything else, just so people don't start ringing up marriage guidance and all that lot, I've been in touch with Ez, and we're meeting up tomorrow for lunch to go shopping, as we'd already planned. So you don't need to worry. You know, everything's fine. He's just he's a bit tired. He's a bit tired. So
I don't think anyone.
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, so yeah, we could do with a different type of striker, I guess. And I don't think that Taiwo is that. I think Taiwo is more akin to Chris Wood than a kind of nippy striker that we could do with.
Yeah, I mean,
we haven't got one.
You're right. We have been linked. Oh, there's a video out tomorrow on that, so keep an eye out on the channel. But with that in mind, and what you're saying, a nippier kind of striker, I think Lemmy said, would you have, or it might have been Crypto, would you have tried Jota as the striker yesterday?
I mean,
I'm sorry, Ben. He asked me, but I'll go back to you in a second. You asked me, didn't you? Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll come back to you, Ben, in a sec. We'll come back in a sec. I think I hate saying this because people are going to crucify me. I'm a bit concerned that we're getting a bit overhyped about Jota, if I'm honest. I think we need to see it. No, we need to see more of him.
No,
The same thing, mate.
I agree with you.
Huh?
I agree with you.
I thought I was going to get. I thought everybody was going to come down.
I blame Greg. I blame Greg on talking Reds.
I compared him to Scarpa. We all said that Scarpa was the best thing since bread.
Yeah, he looks like
Greg's fault. It's Greg's fault.
But there's also quite a bit of fucking about that he does. You know what I mean? He loses the ball quite a lot, and he runs about quite a lot.
Yeah,
and without actually producing a lot. So maybe we got a touch overhyped when we saw him in that for 10 minutes in that first game.
Is he the new Reina? That's what I'm worried about.
I think he's better than Elanga.
So my answer to that, in short, is I don't think we can rely on Jota to be a false 9. I wouldn't.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying about his point. I'm saying you were talking about this different style of striker. We needed smaller, nippier. He fits that profile. He can play as the false 9. I don't like a false 9.
But you've got to be good as well.
Like a Gabriel type striker.
Gabriel plays in defence.
No,
you mean Jesus, don't you?
Gabriel Jesus, yeah.
I mean,
Jesus 2 seasons ago, yes. Jesus
that's what I mean.
Yeah. So the chat is saying Jota and Sosa need more minutes. Is it time now? I think a few people were saying earlier, now that we've lost, Nuno doesn't have to stick to this winning team thing. Do we need to make some changes? Does Callum Hudson-Odoi need a rest? You know, does Elanga need dropping?
Have 2 weeks, isn't it? It's going to have 2 weeks rest.
Okay, but like hypothetically speaking here, does this team need a little bit of refresh? I
don't think you should start chucking players out and bringing other players in through one bad result. I don't. You know what I mean? I would go with a similar team again against Arsenal. I think Arsenal game hopefully will suit us better than the Newcastle game.
Because we're away.
Because they're away, yeah, and we can stick to our plan. You know, stick to the plan, and the plans work. Let's face it, away from home, the plan's been working. So yeah, there's always reason to change one or two players for particular games. But in general, I don't think we ought to think, well, he was crap, so get it. Because otherwise, we'd have nobody left if we did that.
Yeah, but we can be reactionary with fans, mate. We can
Yeah, you're right.
that.
We can be.
We're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Swap
All
them
right,
all
let's-
out. Bring the B team in.
As a quick reminder, please don't forget to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new here. We're on 21,599. So if one person watching is unsubscribed and you want to sort out our OCD, tick us over to 21,600. It'd be much appreciated.
Hey, Ben.
And chat, what I want from you guys now is what are your current expectations? We're into that international break now. Some of you are saying winning the title. Some of you are saying Champions League. Some of you are saying happy with 17th. Give me your updated predictions now or expectations post this match. Let's kick this off.
Can I say to Ben? He said, you know, we could put our second team out. Our second team actually did bloody well against Newcastle, if you remember, better than the first team did.
I think we should have brought Morata on at half time.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, sorry. Yeah, I agree.
Do you agree with that? I know it would have been a little bit early, but we were winning. It's the finisher, you know, just lock it down. I don't know.
That's what we should have done. If we're going to low block anyway, we should have gone low block and brought Morata on. And
but he's aggressive. We play on the halfway line when he's on. Do you know what I mean? He plays like a left winger sometimes.
I would have taken MG Dub off and put another midfielder on and effectively played 4-3-2-1. Like a Christmas tree.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, like we've been playing. Yeah.
How we beat Liverpool, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, kick us off then, Lemmy, with your refreshed expectations or predictions. There's some interesting ones coming up in the chat. I'll bring them up now. Oh, and by the way, 53% of you are saying that Taiwo is done. 14% say no. 33% say he needs more minutes. Right, I'm going to bring theirs up, Lemmy. What's your expected?
I feel like we're all kind of expecting a top 10 now, and that feels ludicrous to say that that's like the bare minimum that we're all kind of expecting now. But for me, it is. I do think that although there are people saying that we've had a very easy run of games, the fact that we're still the only team in Europe to beat Liverpool so far this season has to stand out. We've gone to Brighton and got a draw where Man City have just gone there and lost. We've gone to Chelsea and got a draw, arguably should have won, where other teams are going to go there and get absolutely spanked. We are a very hard team to beat. I still stand by that even after yesterday's result. We're a tough team to beat and get goals against. I'm not sure if we still have the second best defensive record, but I'm pretty sure we probably do have the second best defensive record. And
that 40% hit yesterday.
But the fact that we are still, it's like the Old Testament says, attacks win games, but defense wins championships. But the defense is going to keep us in the top 10, in my opinion. And I think that we still do have one of the best defensive outfits in the league. So I want to say top 10 comfortably, pushing for Europe, absolutely, pushing for Champions League football. That's the dream. I think while we're still in that position now, we're tied with. The only reason we're out of Champions League football at the moment is because we're not scoring many goals.
Well, no, we're in Champions League positions because currently England are leading in the coefficient table. By the way, I'll have a video this week explaining how Europe works, how you get into it, etc. So it'll be a good guide. But we're tied currently in the coefficient places, which
I need to watch that
video. Go down to fifth.
One thing I don't understand.
Video coming out, mate. Video coming out.
I think while we're still on this great run of form, let's keep that in mind and keep that the goal. But I don't want to fall back into thinking we've lost again, we're going to start on a right slump. I do think 10th really is the minimum that I'd want to see. if we do, I mean, we're not going to be in a relegation battle, and I'm really pleased about that because I don't want to have to go through the pain that we've had to go through throughout March, April, and May. We have absolutely nothing to worry about in that concern, and now it's just excitement about how high we can get. And I do think we can finish between, I'd say, 4th and 7th this season.
We just need to stop playing teams that wear black and white, man. Freaking Fulham and Newcastle. Like, what other teams playing black and white?
Tottenham. We've got to beat Tottenham this year. We've got to beat Tottenham this year.
Yeah,
No,
not Scouting always owners in pre-season.
Go on, Ant. What are your revised expectations, if they're revised at all?
I won't say expectations because that's a strange one. I'll say what I'll be happy with.
That would be an expectation.
I'd be okay. Well, I'd be okay with 12. I'd be really, yeah. I'd be okay with 12. Yeah. Man, we've had 2 seasons of scrambling. I will be okay with 12. Not happy. I'll be okay with 12. I think that's a good season to build on. I'll be happy with 10th. I think 10th would be fantastic. And I can dream of 8th. How about that?
Why are you going to dream of 8th? Because 8th may not be Europe. It'll be the same as 12th.
No. There's something about being in the top half when you're on that first page.
8th would literally be the worst position we could finish, obviously outside of relegation positions.
Eighth could easily get Europe this year, especially if there's 5 championships.
By default, it's not. By default, it's not. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but look, the top 6 always win the FA Cup and League Cup, so you're going to get another.
Not this year. I bet it won't happen this year. Anyway, I'll do a video so everyone understands it. It'll be coming out.
Poor Chelsea last year. Then they scrambled on the last day of the season from
Newcastle.
Being nowhere. They got to 7th,
Newcastle.
and then Man U won the FA Cup.
Well, Newcastle, they got kicked out of Europe completely because of it, mate.
They did.
All right, Ben, what are you saying? I agree, Andy. I don't know what he's gone all soft for, seriously, but God.
I mean, at the start of the season, I predicted 10th, so I'm probably going to stick with 10th. Realistically, it's so close, the points in between each position. I mean, I'd love to see us go to Europe, but then we'll struggle even more next season, won't we, in the league? So I don't know. Realistically, I think somewhere around 10th. I really hope we're going to win it because I've got a £10 bet on a 200 to 1, but I don't think it's going to happen anymore. So
good man.
Yeah, we'll see. Anything 11th and higher, I'll be happy. But like Lemmy said, let's aim for Europe, and Champions League would be amazing. Champions League would really genuinely be amazing. So hopefully,
sorry, Ben. I'll tell you what was great yesterday when we scored our goal and went 1-0 up. The ground was rocking to the Premier League we go when we get to Europe, and I really believed it. Believed it.
I thought we were gonna. As soon as we went 1-0 up yesterday, and Murillo scored that header, I thought that's it. We're beating Newcastle now. We're on a massive roll, and then it all went downhill from there. But I'm telling you, it's because Nuno wasn't sat in Rosette.
That is true.
There is something in that. We've spoken about it before, so I won't dwell on it. But there is something about that.
What happens if we don't realise
the play better? Yeah.
Maybe Roy Silva is the mastermind behind all our wins, and it's not Nuno. You never know.
Conspiracies. Right. On that note, I'm gonna go depress myself in my bed because I'm sick of this Newcastle game. I really am.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. We got a transfer video update coming for you guys tomorrow. And watch out, guys, on Patreon. We got a special interview coming with Ben Jacobs, which you'll get to see first. So we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And come and meet us and Brucey. Bring your ID if necessary. And get some tickets because we want to see you all.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to go with these twats, but anyway, maybe we'll see you then. Have a good night. Come on, you Reds.
You Reds.
Good.